Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I got some breaking news for you that is going to be a first look. No one has seen this yet, to my knowledge. Have to give a big shout out to Fate, who did make me aware of this, as up until this time I had only had accounts up to 361. Apparently, in 362, it is a brand new modified Season 1 map. Look at this bad grill. And we're going to show you everything there is on the map. We're going to take a look at some Aerstone. We're going to show you some things with relocation and just peruse, right? So let's first and foremost, where am I at? So I'm in 356 right now. And just to show you here, right, you can see map is the same 361, then it changes at 362. So in 356, you can see here is the Tartara Peninsula that's in Burning Lands, southeast. And then you can see the borders here, also borders here. What I want to do is I'm going to go back to the account that I'm on right now, which is 361. And this is the one before 362, so on the previous version of the map. We're going to take a look at the Aerstone chapter, and there's one I just want to focus on for now that I noticed a clear difference of when we initially looked. And so you can see here, 7,500 lords must upgrade their cities to level 4. This has been the way that it's been, from my understanding, for a while, since pretty much the beginning of the game. And so now, let's go ahead and move over to the newest account, which is going to be in 362. So we're going to let this bad grill load. And there are some inherent changes. We're going to take a look at the map, not only from an overhead, but we're going to look at it from the scout camp. We're going to take a look at the Aerstone. We're going to look at how relocation potentially works and anything else that might be a noticeable difference, because there are some that are very interesting, and you're going to find some similarities between the T1 season map and how this one is working now. So first and foremost, let's go bottom right just to make sure that we can confirm. So you can see here, Tartara Peninsula, there's a border here. Previously, the border was like over here, right? And then the next border was like over here, so to speak. This is a lot bigger. So let's now go in, and we're going to look at, first and foremost, let's go to the scout camp. So, and I have leveled this up to level 7 as well, so we could take a look at Aerstone. I did that before we recorded, just so I'd be able to have all of that information ready. Where's the Ranger Retreat? Here we go. So let's look at the map. Does anyone notice anything obvious that's a difference at first? Well, I'll tell you. It is that there's 6 zone 1s instead of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you know which one is missing? I'll give you a hint. Starts with a C, ends with an Ia. That is Kaltia, or Kaltia. And Kaltia was right here, right? So before it was like Sophrostia, Nivola, Darlin, Forgotten Lands was long, Zolan was a little bit over here, Burning Lands was right here, and then it was Kaltia, right? So going from 7 to 6 zone 1s, there's still 3 zone 2s, Lorcan, Agoru, Hollandale, and then the middle zone 3. However, one of the interesting things that was shared with me that I was able to confirm as well is when we go to the beginner's relocation, this is where that similarity comes in from the T1 season. So if we look and we click use, relocate to another region, very interesting here. So you can only land or start out in 3, well, I should say potentially 3 regions, right? But if this is the case, it would be Nivola, Forgotten Lands, and Burning Lands, which means that Sophrostia, Zolan, and Darlin potentially could be acting in the same way that the neutral Zone 2s operate in the T1 season. For those of you that are not familiar with the most recent KVK season, that's T1 or Tamaris 1. And how it works is that you start off in 4. You can start off in 4 Zone 1s, and then you have 3 Zone 2s, or sorry, 6 Zone 1s, I should say. Let me be specific here. 6 Zone 1s, and then you have 3 Zone 2s that open up. And 3 of the Zone 2s are in between each of the 6. So it's like 1, it's like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's like every other if you work your way all the way around. But there are, it's like clumps of 2 really is what it is. So it's like you have 2 Zone 1s, a Zone 2. 2 Zone 1s, a Zone 2, a Zone 2. 2 Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 2. That's kind of how the T1 season map works. So it's interesting to see that they're now taking this approach in Season 1, which really is your home kingdom. And it makes me wonder, it is a different way of looking at it, right? It's a different way of an approach, because in traditional kingdom builders, and I would argue in most, usually you have access to the entire Zone 1, which usually borders the map, whether that's bordering in a circle, if it's bordering it in a square, you usually have access there. So this, to me, is visually a different way of approaching how a home kingdom operates, because you're limiting the amount, which also means that you are funneling alliances into fewer zone 1s than you have more. The first obvious thing that I feel this can really become a hindrance on, if we're just looking at kind of a negative, is that if you have fewer zone 1s, like we said, you're going to end up having more of the player base going into fewer zone 1s, which also means that you are going to be lacking a level of flexibility and diversity with the player base that's going in. This can end up meaning you may end up having more fights because you just have to fit a lot more people into smaller areas, which also means that you are going to have a lot more alliances in fewer zones, starting zones. That again can lead to more fights. You can end up also having lesser fights and more impactful fights happening in later zones, which could end up ruining the kind of long-term season play. Because if this ends up happening, and again, this is just how I potentially see it happening, is that, go out please, put your mask on. And so this is one of those challenges, right, where this is how I would view it, is it's going to be something like that, and you have a very high chance of having fewer active alliances now being able to play it out in later zones, which means things are going to end up being decided a lot more earlier on in Zone 1, if you end up only having these 3 zone 1s compared to 6. Because if you have 6, you have more alliances that can go, like, you have to think of it like this. Let's just assume that you have one alliance that makes it out, that's like the top dog that makes it out of each zone 1, right? In this setup, you would have 3 alliances that would make it out of these zone 1s into one of the zone 2s, and then going into the zone 3s, right? In that case, so like we could assume zone 2 is probably Darlin, Sophrostia, and Zoland. Right? So they make it in there, but maybe they each go into their own. They don't really fight anyone. Okay. And then they each go into a zone 2 or zone 3, nobody fights anyone, right? And then they each go into zone 3, okay, then maybe they fight someone. It's just you're very much limiting the player base and the potential for what it could be. And this is a very extreme situation, but this is also something that I can tell you happens in a number of kingdoms. Now, maybe in a better light, you might have 2 alliances that break through each of these. Okay. It's just having your own area, because you have to really understand, and I don't want to get into like a whole TED talk here, but I will just simply say that if you understand the player psychology behind why alliances at times, and sometimes more often than not, will feel that, okay, well, for each region, everyone's trying to like be the top dog. Everyone wants to recruit the most people, regardless if that's their mindset or not, right? They want to recruit the most amount of people they can. They want to have everyone be active. They want to be as strong as they can, even if they don't care about being the top dog or the number 1 alliance there, right? Usually this just quickly snowballs on the leaderboard, so to speak. And so because of that, you very much have this passive, indirect, incentivized way of ladder climbing from just how the game almost kind of like defaultly treats things. And so when you end up having fewer alliances that are going in, you only have a limited number of spots that can fit these players. And if you're filling kingdoms with more than 10,000 new players, which I believe on average they usually are being filled with that, regardless of how many of those amounts, and I want to say it's really more like 30 to 40,000 from what I've tested with looking at like the new account player ID numbers, which is actually a number of players that have got there. So if you compare those numbers from kingdom to kingdom, you'll like see some of those averages. But again, I digress. It worries me a little bit. I'm interested to see how it's going to play out, but it already feels like it's more of a net negative than it is a net positive when you're talking about being able to also build a healthy and sustainable community within a kingdom, especially knowing that home kingdoms are coming out. I just don't think that this is the right way to do it, where you're cutting essentially those opportunities in half, along with, if you're filling the kingdoms with the same amount of people, you're also cutting in half the amount of starting territory, behemoths, and just opportunities to play the game because you have less than half. Now, yeah, you are increasing some of the territory size in these, but I just don't think that's going to make up enough. Again, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But you have 3 regions. Now, let's take a look at Aerstone. So this is the next thing to look at. And while we look at Aerstone, you'll notice one of the first things, right, that we hinted at to in the beginning is they have lowered the amount of lords that need to upgrade their cities to level 4 by the end of the countdown. This would have only been changed if they are consistently seeing that the average kingdoms are not hitting these goals, right? And so again, this to me somewhat indicates, okay, they must have data on the back end that's showing this. They decide to lower the number because they want more people to be able to get these rewards. And then additionally, this has been the case, like the 7500 has been the case for a very long time, right? And so, I mean, again, they could have done different things, right? They could have extended this by 3 days, potentially. They could have maybe lowered the city level from 4 to 3. Whatever it may have been. Not to say like that's the best idea. But just again, I think if anything, the big takeaway here is it's showing us kind of like what is the indication. Now let's look at some of the additional ones. I want to see like how some of the zones open up, right? And we'll have to compare to see if any of these have really changed. I'm sure some others will as I kind of look. But let's go to Date with Destiny. So we have Rockface, Warsong. So here we go. Level 1 pass, 12 hours after this chapter has been done, will be capturable. So that's Warsong. Let me see if we can... I'm going to assume Darlin is probably this. So let's zoom in and see if we can see a gate. Okay. So here you see level 1 pass is there. And then I wonder if they can go that way as well. Let's see. Is that the case? I'm going to assume so. Okay, here's the line. I don't even know if I can see a pass. That didn't really look like a pass. I think the pass is probably going to be here. Okay, ooh, I actually got lucky there. So there's level 1 pass. Okay. So we know that. So that means Warsong. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So on the 8th chapter, Warsong opens for the neutral zone 2s. Let's see what next is. So oh, my bad. Let me see if there's anything different here on those two. No, nothing really. Okay, so nothing really. Oh, hang on. There's passes and then basic merit store. Time is now. Great deeds. New dawn. That's Alliance power rankings open. I really wish those opened up a lot earlier. Let's look. Conspiracy. Okay, so Conspiracy is level 2 pass. That's going to go into zone 3. Chest of Desire. Free the Beast. Breakable Vow. Silent Calibration. So Silent Calibration, I think, used to actually be one of the next passes. So now it's Light Bearer, but I don't know if that's still the same for Season 1. And then level 3 pass is open for Final Zone. Mist is Dispelled, and that's the 6th to last Aerstone chapter. Magma Daemon, and then you get cross-region alliances, 3rd to last. Strongest Warped. All players have a greater chance of attaining higher Warped, 2nd to last chapter. And then Remnants of Evil Event Star. When this chapter ends, the Remnants of Evil Event will begin at 0 to 2. Oh, interesting. Okay. So there you go. Curious if there's anything different here that they have in text. No, this is same text. Season overview is any different? No. I mean, oh, they actually lowered the amount. Look, this is so... They probably have done this in an earlier season. This is the first time I'm noticing. But if you remember, they used to have, I think, 10 things here. Now it's only 6. Just hero levels, tactics manual, CP items, merits, elixir, other. I mean, man, my view is good on them. I keep it easier rather than, more challenging. Or at least easier to understand overall. Okay. Ooh, let's see if we can look at status. Oh, yeah, so see, this gives us a little clearer of a picture on how many there are. So, it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, maybe 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, wait, 1, 2. Oh, unless these ones are actually like in the zone 2. Oh, it very much. Oh, I see. So there is a bear. No, but there's no bears over here in this zone 2. Huh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not 7. Oh, interesting. So the numbers are off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh. Oh, no, that's in Burning Lands. Wow, so there's... Oh, my bad. It's because I'm figuring it out now. I'm having such a brain fart. It's because they're not. I'm assuming that they're all the same zone ones, and they're not, right? So okay, yeah, no. It's again, I'm getting it. Right, because there's 3 starting and then the zone 2s. Okay, let's look at giants. So different numbers. Hydras. So hydras are all over for zone 1 and zone 2. Dire bears only in zone 2. Sorry, zone 3, I should say. Zone 1, 2, and 3, I should have said for hydras as well. Dire bear only zone 3. Necro zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. Magmas appear to be all over. With the exception of maybe, like, this is a zone 2 technically, so there's no magma here. I like how they do put a magma on the volcano, though. That's funny. But then there's magmas everywhere else, but there's no magma here, unless maybe it is there and it's just the way that it's positioned, and then just one flame. Okay, all right, cool. Well, that's it for the showcase here on the first look for the new kingdom. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Looks like everything here. Just kind of like looking at any last minute things. Let me see. How long does the season stay? Okay, so still 67, 68 days on average. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Man, let me know what you guys think. This is interesting. The fact that we're just finding out about this now and there was just no indication on this, right? And as always, this is my thing. And you always hear me say this. I am okay if they want to test things, if they want to do some trial and error, but just give people a heads up, right? Just let us know what's going on, right? Now, you can make the argument that people that are already playing in other kingdoms are not necessarily affected by a new kingdom that is changing or that has changed. However, the people that are affected are those that are planning projects and are planning to start in a new kingdom or do restarts, right? With the exception of brand new players who are just downloading the game and getting populated into the newest kingdom, they're not going to know the difference. So there is still parties that can be affected by this, which also impacts their day-to-day playing experience. So again, it would be always nice to have some form of communication, and I don't think anyone's going to be mad at getting a heads up notice on just saying, hey, we're going to be trying some new things starting with Kingdom 362. Just wanted to give people a heads up in case you plan to restart your account. And people would probably be appreciative of a heads up. No one's going to be like, oh, how dare they, do that. It's more likely that you'll have positive feedback than if you make a change. It's like asking for forgiveness rather than permission. Right? And very much so from what I usually see, and I think from what has been trending and not trending, but what has been consistent so far, is that we would just like to be informed. And so this is just another one of those examples of, unfortunately, being let down a bit, right? And maybe some people just don't care. Maybe some people do care. I just happen to be one of the people where I like for things to be communicated. I like for there to be some transparency. And I think this can really only be viewed as a win, right? Especially if it's worded in the right way of like, hey, we want to do some trial and error testing, whether it's based on feedback or we just want to see how people are going to respond to this versus what we've been doing before. And this is why we're testing it that way. Like, that is all you need to know. And so anyways, that's me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.